Hurricane Floyd, a mytho-poetic reading of current events by Rubadiri Victor. For those of us who believe such things, the turning point was when, in those last moments facing the inevitable, George Floyd called upon his ancestors, Mother. In that one act, uttered on the cusp of time, when the warm, expansive waters of tropical oceans are furiously evaporating, forming dense clouds whipped into frenzy by the earth's rotation, like children whipped into delirium by the idea of freedom. It was in that moment that the hurricane entered George, and his mother enacted his deification, resurrection. His mother, the ancestor, heard her son and answered. An elder artist, a grand master, a giant of a man, was present with the president when his bodyguard was killed by gangsters. He said to me, "They can come for me, but I will tell them that you want a ghost for your gun. That equation is steel and flesh, but can you tote my spirit?" Well, as it would turn out, those four officers, led by the spirit of a Klansman, the unholy spirit of an overseer, retrieving the sacred icon of a runaway slave, could not tote George's spirit. George's spirit picked them up and tossed them off his back like a rodeo horse into spiraling winds. The old Native American woman heard the winds and said, "It is time," and came and danced a circle around his eye, the place where he ascended, strengthening the wind, fulfilling the prophecy that said the dance would be required to heal the nation. The sound of their dresses tapped Morse code on the heavens, and the vault began to open, and the deities all began to arrive from their constellations for the coronation, sitting in a colosseum round, with the sphere of the world in a whirlwind of cloud below them, waiting on George to abandon the avatar and join them. This is how big George is now, at this moment, with his face immortal and walls and hearts multiplied all over the world. We are witnessing the creation of a god. "Can you tote my spirit?" he asked the slavers. His mother answered for them, "No." Four could not go into one. And the winds picked up, pelting children into the street, sending tyrants scurrying into bunkers, and sending madmen with guns madder still, shooting into the air. The cyclone tore down the big old house on the hill and the old statues of generals in the square. It tore down walls and blew roofs off of treacherous buildings. There was nowhere to hide. Old ghosts came out into the streets naked, their shame limp and plain for all to see. Chains were shaken loose. Such was the fury of George's passing. With the rain waging outside the bunker and the Allied forces closing in, the tyrant clutched an upside-down Bible and called for curfew. But the children ignored the call and instead danced into the streets past their bedtime in the pregnant winds, playing catch around the guns and tanks and pelting toy soldiers back into their boxes. And the winds roared on, scattering tea leaves and presumptions, powers and principalities, as George gathered strength and ascended to take his seat amongst the gods. And as he touched the throne, the clouds burst with the wild trumpet of change, and the rains lashed the unholy, flooding the bunker as the last shot rang out. The morning after, nothing was the same. After the fury of George's passing, the old things were all washed away. Something new and true would have to be built upon the promise, as the children laughed and played in the receding waters. Ashe.